This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
We are living in a post-Christian world, and Tony is a post-Christian girl. This is Wretched Radio. Are you familiar with Chris Hayes? I think he's an MSNBC talking head.
Then no.
He's also, I think he's on that. He's the guy with Rachel Maddow, right?
Then really no.
I think that's the network. He was appearing on the Seth Meyers show. Is that what you call it? What is the name of that program?
Yeah, that's the NBC late night thing.
No, that would make sense then. Doing a little co-promote here.
Yeah.
Normally don't play stuff like this. If I can reach the button on the new machine. But I'm going to anyway, because this is just about every time that you've heard a crack about tolerance being a one-way street, maybe you rolled your eyes, maybe you're already tired of what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander. Listen to this little give and take from Seth Meyers and Chris Hayes of MSNBC.
You mentioned civil society. I will segue to civility. That seems to be the conversation today.
It is. In fact, I'm getting a little weary of all of the people talking about how civil they are. In fact, I just saw Ben Shapiro having a conversation with Sam Harris, the atheist, who really is warring after God. He's being esteemed as probably the smartest atheist philosopher on the planet. Do with that as you see fit. And they spent the first 10 minutes of the programming going, don't you wish people talk nicer? Don't you wish that we're going to do that. We're going to okay, we get just talk nice and be done with it. So civility, it is all the rage these days.
It's a tricky thing to talk about because I think we all would expect to be treated civilly. Like we all want that. How do you feel about right now, a Republican saying that there is now a lack of civility?
I mean, look, I understand. I want to acknowledge what you're saying, which is I get people's impulse, and I don't think it's a bad impulse to have of don't yell at people or be, that.
Guess what's coming next? But
get that? That's a human and understandable part of people's impulses around this stuff, and generally, I think that's a good guiding post for people.
Free speech. Generally, it's a good guiding post for people.
I will say this, that, look, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, for example, is one of the most powerful people in the world. Mm-hmm. And in a very real and tangible sense, the defining feature of a free society is that you can tell one of the most powerful people in the world in your government, get out of my restaurant.
Okay.
Well, you can.
So
That's
deny
true.
services to somebody because of freedom of speech. So maybe what the baker needs to do in the future is, get out of here, couple who wants to get married. I don't want to bake your cake. Apparently, then it's okay.
That's genuinely a thing that makes a free society.
Wow.
And now, people can say...
And by the way, I agree you should be able to say anything that you want to, except stuff that endangers people's lives, terroristic threats, things like that. You should be able to say anything that gets up somebody's nose. That's what freedom of speech is all about. But this guy is saying, well, we've got the right to deny services to. That's just a different category.
That I don't think they should do that, or that's rude, and I totally get people on either side of that. But in a real deep sense, hectoring, yelling at public officials, I covered all the Tea Party town halls of 2009.
Okay, so we can disagree and yell at political people we disagree with. Can we disagree and yell at people we disagree with on moral issues? Just civilians. Or is there something about, once you're a politician, then we can yell and criticize, but otherwise we can't if you're just a civilian? What's good for the goose?
That was a festival of yelling at public officials. And in the same way, that's actually an important right to preserve. So
if these guys keep going up with their voices, pretty soon only Charlie is going to be able to hear this conversation.
I think sometimes this conversation about civility can paper over a lot of what is actually just what politics looks like.
And, I feel like lost in this, obviously, Sarah Huckabee Sanders in her tweet framed she focused on her own politeness and politely leaving.
Right.
It does seem as though she was also politely asked to leave. Now, now again...
Okay. So as long as you do it politely, the florist doesn't need to provide the bouquet.
Well, at the end of the day, I think if you're asked to leave a restaurant, you don't look back and go, they were so nice about it. But,
at the end of the day, there's more to the day.
Comp them the cheese plate.
Yes. Yeah, that's no small thing.
Yeah.
Tony, could you
leave
Google
me alone?
this?
I'm having a small stroke over here.
Why is MSNBC and NBC struggling in the ratings? Wow.
Boy,
But,
it beats me.
You know, and it did strike me as interesting that the woman.
You know, what happened was I got busy today and didn't have any time to prepare for the show. You know what?
It happens.
I should have some sort of question or a line or what I'm going to talk about.
The restaurant, she went and asked her staff, and she made it very clear that she had she had an ethnic staff, she had a staff that were gay people on her staff that Christians on her staff? No. Made it difficult, and she actually asked them their opinion, which.
And it's okay because she talked to some of the other employees, and we don't like Sarah Huckabee either. So I guess it's okay.
I thought it was. Look again. I feel like
At the end of
basic,
the day,
my basic
I
principles
feel
here are
I feel like.
nonviolent action in dissent or in protest, sort of across viewpoints, is part of what American political life is about.
wonder if the subject changed to, I don't know, gay marriage, transgender issues. Is that what America's still all about,
no.
Chris?
Not then.
Nope. Remember, you will do as we say, not as we do. It's going on right now in Ireland. A Catholic hospital's going to have to perform abortions, says the Prime Minister. Wow. I don't know why. Maybe because my daughter spent a fair amount of time over there with Ludi Creech when they were in... not diapers. They weren't that young exactly. It was just a few years ago. They were in Ireland, and so I just always have a soft spot for Ireland. It's a beautiful place. I have never met anybody who returned from a trip to Ireland who didn't say it was breathtaking. And it's so changed there. Now abortion is legal. Fresh off of the repeal of the Eighth Amendment of their Constitution, they changed an amendment prohibiting abortion. Ireland is set to require Catholic hospitals to perform the procedure. I think I'll do the rest of the program like this. It
I
will
think
not,
I'll leave
however,
now.
be possible for publicly funded hospitals, no matter who their patron or owner is, to opt out of providing these necessary services, which will be legal in this state once this legislation is passed by the Senate, said the PM. Wow. However, in case you're in a complete panic, I'm happy to give you that assurance. We'll allow individuals to opt out based on their consciences or their religious convictions, but will not allow institutions to do so. Well, what if everybody in the institution doesn't want to do so?
Wait a minute.
Wow. And it just keeps getting a little bit more troubling all the time. Might I, just in case you haven't been perhaps encouraged by today's glum reports from around the globe, we got to get on evangelizing. That's all there is to it. Churches, we got to start focusing on the world. They're dying, they're perishing. Look, I don't care if people think any better or not. That just makes no difference ultimately, eternally. People need to get saved. They need to hear the gospel. These stories should motivate us to get on it. For instance, in California, spikes in chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis take STDs to record highs. That's just lovely. They're killing themselves. Do we get disgusted with them? No. We should get motivated to reach them. This is not good for people, if nothing else. Infertility, ectopic pregnancies, just blindness, hearing loss, neurologic issues. With more than 300,000 cases of these diseases reported in the state in 2017. I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to shake anybody's hand at this point. There's no morality going on there. Dr. Jeffrey Klausner, a professor of medicine at the University of California, Los Angeles, for California to have a steady increase in congenital syphilis is shameful. We've known how to control syphilis since the early 1900s. Seeing it back like this is a sign of failure of the public health safety net. No, sir, it's a sign of no morality, no Christian values. This is yours. Congratulations. Your worldview is in. You have won. Are you happy? Speaking of California, 400 people used California-assisted death law in 2017. Another statistic that should grieve us. Now, you get upset when people commit suicide, especially if they're famous, but they celebrate We want to support the law that says we can kill ourselves with the help of a doctor because that isn't suicide that we mourn over. 400 people. 400 people. Quite honestly, the world is no less bleak than it was 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, because it's sin, it's rampant everywhere, and we do not need to rescue a culture. We need to redeem people by presenting the gospel that Jesus Christ died for them while they were yet sinning. It was countercultural in the first century, and it's countercultural now, but that is the very message that God uses to save, and it was the very message that God used to explode the early church. And something tells me he could do it again if we would just rightly, courageously, and lovingly preach the gospel. Throwing a promo for Don't Stub Your Toe, but we're out of time. Until tomorrow, go serve your king. Don't forget, if you would like to hear the entire daily broadcast, simply visit Wretched.org, go to iTunes, figure out your favorite Android listening platform, and you can listen to the entire program every single day, downloaded to your listening device for free. Well, thanks to our monthly supporters called the Gospel Partners. If you'd like to partner with us, we'd be very, very grateful. Simply visit Wretched.org.